Hello, folks. Do you ever feel like your Pinterest images aren't quite what they could be? I know I've been there. Wish you could get some fresh eyes on them. Are you ready to try something new to increase your Pinterest engagement and traffic? Well, if so, then today's show is for you. Hello, folks. I am Jeff C. of Manly Pinterest Tips, and I'm here with the always awesome Elisa Meredith. And we had like over 700 of these submissions for pin review.
Yeah.
So why not do another one? So these are very popular. Everybody likes them. So, but it's not just going to be about me and Elisa, even though Elisa would like it to be all about her. We are actually going to, just kidding, I'm sorry. You guys have great ideas, so we will be sharing all the pin links in the comments, and we would love to get your suggestions as well. So, and we even have Justine coming back for a awesome section about color theory, which is always awesome. I always learn something new from Justine. So we're happy to have you guys all on. Make sure that you ask your questions, be interactive down below. We'll try to pull in as many of your questions and comments as we can, but do not forget we have our not brand new, they're new this month, pin templates, where you can find out more at bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit. Go check that out because it is really awesome. Elisa worked really hard on those. They look amazing, and they do. They're awesome. So check those out. They're a great resource. They work on them every month. They put new ones out. So this batch is freshly baked. So make sure you go and check that out because it's really good at bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit. So happy to have you guys here. Elisa, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I feel like it's been one of those breathless kind of days
It
where
has been.
I'm like, oh, this right here, you guys, is my chill time with you.
That's right.
You're the best. So yeah, we wanted to do another one of these shows because, like Jeff said, we just had hundreds and hundreds of submissions. We couldn't get to them all, and we love to see your suggestions as well. So yeah. This is fun time for us, you guys.
So I want to say some shout outs like to Allison from Wales. Very cool. Thank you for joining us from there. We've got another Melissa from New York City. Hope you are doing well there. This is we got Lila from North Carolina. That's your neck of the woods, isn't that correct? Yeah. So I think I don't even know where you're from. You know, it's just you're out there.
North Carolina.
You're out there in the internets. So anyway, thank you guys for joining. Yeah, make sure that you do go get this awesome.
This one was really fun, you guys, because what I did was I looked at magazine covers for the different niches we were going to cover and kind of emulated that for the pin designs. So they look a little different. They look super modern and clean. Let me know what you think. But yeah,
check them out. So bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit, all lowercase, all smashed together. And this is Marine's chill time too. Elisa, she said that, this is her time. So thank you, Marine, for being here. So pin reviews. Are we just going to jump right to it?
Let's do it.
Now, are we going to bring Justine? Is she going to help us review them? I thought we should because she's like a designer, but if she doesn't want to, she doesn't have to. Because I thought she would, so I have her screen ready. So this will be interesting if she doesn't want to because she probably doesn't have a choice as of now. So Justine, are you ready? If we bring you on, are you cool with that? Okay, good. So good because we really didn't have any choice on the matter. So let me go in and we're going to pull up some the first ones here. So we've got the first one. Let me get this. So it's going to be a techie show today. This one is from my friend Sally Howe, and she's a friend of the show. Not just my friend; she's everybody's friend. But she does jewelry design, and this is one from her. There's Justine. Look at her in her bright red. She's awesome. She's going to come and help us break this stuff down because there was no way to take her screen off in time. So this is Sally House pin. So I think it's very striking.
Look what it is. Look, it's a story pin.
Oh, very cool. That is really cool. So
are you able to advance it so we can see?
Well, let me see if I can. All this stuff.
Let's
go. Oh, look at that.
Oh, yes, you can.
Look at this, Sally. I am impressed with the photography on this. That is really cool. And there's the last one right there. It looks like it's cut off right there at the end.
Yeah.
But that's on somebody, I think, and it's zoomed in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Sally, this is what I'll let the professionals do it, but
Just
this is my first one. I love these first two, but this third one seems out of place to me a little bit. I don't know, for a story pin. I love the photography on these two. I think this is amazing. And this looks, and I'm seeing, I don't know if it's cut off because I'm zoomed in, but the text is cut off here at the bottom. Maybe it's because did I enlarge it? Let me go and see if I can shrink it down, if it makes a difference. Nope.
Huh.
I don't know if it's because it's a story pin or what, but it seems a little, something's breaking on the desktop. So
is that one taller? No, I guess not. It does. They don't look like the standard 2:3 ratio either.
Yeah.
Maybe it
does feel a bit taller. Yeah.
Maybe that's why. Maybe it looks different. Yeah, it does when you.
I think the other thing for me is that third one is coming across a little bit grainy compared to the other two. The other two look really, really crisp for me. And I actually want to bring something. I mean, I know the color theory sort of segment is later, but so thinking about how to use color on Pinterest to basically drive more results, black and white images generally don't do as well as pins with color. So a way to kind of like, I know, some of these images you may not be able to manipulate or change, but a way to kind of get around this could be by like putting a border or background and pairing that with the image. And personally, I think like I really like seeing, especially if it's a product, seeing it on someone. Like I'm wearing a necklace now, and it's really nice to see like, okay, how long is that necklace? How does it look with an outfit? And I think I really like the third one for that reason, but I would like to see that one maybe a little bit crisper. And possibly, I don't know, it's like there's maybe some text on it that's a little bit distracting on that third one.
Sally, she in the comments says, no, it's cut off. So I don't know if it's something on desktop or what's going on, but that's how it came up when I looked on desktop, when I pulled it up you can see it's in a browser. So that's really odd. So I don't know if it's a story pin break or something, but Maureen says this. She says that it needs to be on a solid, like a solid shirt, which makes really good, like a black
really
shirt to make it pop a little bit. But I
was
like the
even
photography.
Like a color shirt.
Yeah.
Like a bright color, yeah. So I'm looking at the text here on this one in particular, the sterling silver necklace, and then I think underneath that it says something like empowering creatives. There it is, empowering for creatives. To me, like sterling silver necklace is fine. That's good keyword usage, but I'm not sure what the empowering for creatives has to do with the necklace itself. And also, of course, we have the overlay that's really on top of the main part of the necklace of the pendant itself. So I would just like shift that up a little bit. But her title? So I think that may be pulling from a website, and that's the metadata, because look at her title.
Yeah, the sterling silver. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unicorn horn necklace for her title.
That's fine. Yeah, that's probably the rich pin, pulling from the rich pin. It's just that this part here you can set.
Okay.
The sterling silver necklace bit and empowering for creatives. So I would use that to tell more of a story, because it's a story. Story pin. So who would you give this to? What occasions is this a good, maybe make for a good gift?
Yeah, could be like, every day, sterling silver necklace or something that's occasion based. I could see.
Yeah.
So
something to entice me to like, where would I wear this?
So here's a great question from Shelly. And so, Elisa, why don't you take this one? She goes, how is a story pin different from a regular pin? You can add a few images. She wants to know what the difference is.
Yeah, you can add a few images. You can add the different headings where you see like sterling silver necklace and empowering for creatives. You can add separate information for each one of those. The other difference is that you cannot link to your website from them. So the idea is to draw them in with an engaging story. Maybe you show them step by step how to do something, and then in your description you give them a call to action, like go to my website.
So
it makes me feel like, I just wanted to say, it makes me feel like for a necklace like this, I'd like to see it styled in different ways. If I were to see a story, I think that would be really engaging.
That's a good point. So
yeah, 10 different ways to wear it or something.
Yeah. So and how many images can you have with a story pin? Do you know?
Oh man, I don't even think I have story pins yet. Is that
Yeah, I don't
possible?
either. It's amazing. I'm glad Sally brought those up.
Yeah,
so
me too. Up to 20 pages.
Okay. Shireen asked this. She goes, "Can we create story pins in Tailwind?"
No.
Not as of now, right? No. So, what do you guys? So you talked about styling it with 10 different ways to wear it or whatever. What if she? I love this photography. I just think it's really cool. But what if you flipped it and had it like the lifestyle shot first?
Yes.
You think that would make more sense, and then show off like the individual,
and then show the detail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what I would do.
Okay. Very, very cool. Awesome, Sally. Thank you for sharing this. This was very, very cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, I am impressed. I'll send you all my jewelry to photo now. So, yeah, very, very cool.
Okay.
So next one, let me pull that one up. So many things to do. So, let me see here. Let me go back to this, and because I don't want everybody to see my cluttered background. So this is from Tara. So we'll pull this one up from Tara. Okay, this will be an interesting one for you. And I also have to make sure we're not getting you guys aren't slipping any, thing bad. I gotta make sure we protect the innocent.
And sneaking in there.
So
I check them all.
You never know. So so this one is let's see. It says, let me zoom in here on it. Free God is my hope COVID-19 workbook. So we talked about this a little bit about keywords. Would you put COVID-19 as a keyword?
No.
Okay.
I would not. For one thing, searches for that term tend to be redirected to Pinterest's own pages because they're trying to combat disinformation. So I think it's a missed opportunity here where if you made it a little bit more evergreen, not only would it show up in search now, but it would also be relevant later on. So there's definitely a different angle you could do that would still make this really relevant and appealing.
Okay, so let's talk about the image. Justine, talk about that a little bit.
So I can't tell if it's my screen or not, but it does look a little blurry, and maybe that is just my screen.
It's probably your screen. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, if it's not blurry, that's great. I really like the free digital download bar. I think that's really like attention grabbing. I think like free is a word that gets used a lot, but like I love it. I want to click on it because I know like, okay, I can download this. I like that we're seeing like the actual download, or I'm going to assume that's the actual download. And we have like, it's kind of like the product in use. So I like that. One thing I think I would change on this would be just to bring some color into that background where it says, God is my hope COVID-19 workbook. I think I'd like to see color on that instead of it being white, just to like draw more attention to it. Possibly even just flip that around, like make it a colored background with white text, and making sure there is enough contrast there. But I think overall, like, I think it's good. I think it's pretty clear. And I think it's got all of the elements of a good pin. The other thing is like for the www dot, it's not necessary for pins to have that. I think like it's safe to assume, like people know that already. So if you just want to remove that just takes text off of the pin.
And you can maybe
the
make it a little
www
bit, make it a little bit bigger and leave the .com at the end so they know.
Make it bigger. Yeah, or even just there's more white space on the image and in that area too, which is always a good thing.
So I think.
Hey, Jeff,
go ahead.
How old is the person in this picture?
I can't tell.
Okay.
It looks like a younger hand. If it's it's
for kids.
I'm guessing that it is.
Yeah, the description says stress relief for kids, but I think that really needs to be in your pin title.
Okay.
Because that's key, right? That makes it more relevant to someone searching for that.
Okay. Let me see.
I also kind of want to amend something, or not necessarily amend, but something I think could make this better is if the picture was like mostly filled in, so we could get like a lot of different colors on that image instead of it looks like we're just starting. I think that could really just give it more like visual interest, and we're able to see like the possibilities of this instead of it being more of a blank canvas.
Gotcha.
I would also maybe put a tablecloth or even just a piece of fabric underneath all that stuff on the table, so you don't have that darker brown wood, which kind of blends in with the child's hair. Mm-hmm. I think it could really pop more.
So Tara says it is for kids, targeted towards K through 5th grade kids.
Okay.
So
that is we need to say that in the title. Yeah.
So here's a question the color. Would you make it more primary colors? Because it just seems like I look at Teacher Pay Teachers pins that you see like the primary colors, and that kind of gives a signal to be it's a kid's pin.
Yeah, good point.
I know she probably sampled the color from it looks like the book to pull that color in maybe, and but I would maybe see if it would go look at some Teacher Pay Teachers.
Brighter.
Yeah, and give some of those ideas. Yeah. Also, Elisa, what about having COVID-19 on the pin itself? I mean, we've already talked about we shouldn't have it in the title. Because Pinterest can read your pins, would you take that out as well?
I mean, I think even if Pinterest read COVID-19 on the pin itself and even in the pin title, that's not the issue so much as in this case, maybe you're counting on people searching COVID-19 and that is probably not going to work. Like they're not going to get to this pin from that because they'll be redirected. So I don't think it's like a technical problem to use the word. It's just not helpful. So, and again, like what could make this relevant in 2 years, right?
Right.
Hopefully less time than that. But to talk about that stress relief, because there are always going to be stressful situations. How could you make it a little more relevant to all the time?
Right. So here's a great question from Rumilla. I think is if you remove the website from the pin, would you recommend adding it in the description?
Oh, and Justine didn't mean to remove the whole website, just that you don't need www.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely include the website, either the website or a logo, I would say, for sure.
So Lila asked this question, which is great. Can you speak to the specifics of branding? Do you need a logo and a website on your pins? I think is what she's meaning.
I would never use both, right? Use one or the other.
Both, but one or the other. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Very cool. All righty. Yeah. You guys are awesome. This is fun. And by the way, thank you guys for doing this. I know it's a lot to put your designs and if you work hard on stuff, yes, we've all here had to design things, and it's hard when people critique your stuff. So we do it out of love. Most of us. I do. I don't know about Lisa, but and Justine does too. But anyway,
I hope I come across that way.
Yeah. So it is hard. It is very hard to put your stuff out there, and we really appreciate it. So we do it. We're trying to help you make it better. So
are we going to get through all 723 today, do you think?
Probably not. We will do our best. Thank you for pointing that out.
I bring that up because we have every other week there's a Pinterest get-together webinar that we do. Mm-hmm. So and it's much smaller, which means you're likely to get a lot more personal attention from us and from the audience as well. We do as much as we can here, but come on over to that. It's a bit.ly link. It's TW Pinterest Get Together, all one word, smashed together, all lowercase, TW Pinterest Get Together. Again, that's a bit.ly link. Come on over, and we do this all the time. It's super fun.
Yeah. So here is our next one. And this is, I'm going to have to go play it, but it looks like it's a video pin. So look at that. And see if I can zoom in on it for you. Right, like there. So it just had the clouds, I think, moving in the background. You guys see that? So it's very pretty. It's a quote graphic. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Do you mind clicking on the pin? I want to see where it goes.
Oops, sorry. Wrong button. Where'd it go? There it is. Too many things to do. So you want me to click on the pin?
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing's happening. Yeah, nothing. Dang it. Interest.
Okay, I was just curious to see where it went. I wonder why it's not going.
Now it's got her link over here. We'll click on that.
Okay.
I think it just goes to her website.
Homepage, yeah.
Okay.
All right, that was my first question. So I'm not really sure what.
Okay. Looks like a speaker. Yeah, she's a speaker and it's got books and that kind of stuff. So that's where that is going.
Okay. Okay, cool. So we are actually going to do a whole show about video on Pinterest very, very soon because Jeff knows a lot about video and I want to learn, and this is my best way to do it, is to get him to teach us here. So I'm excited about that. So Jeff, like, what do you think? You're the video.
So I mean,
quote
graphics.
What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah. So quote graphics look great, and this would catch the eye in the feed. I mean, especially if other quote graphics are coming up and you see movement, so that is cool. I would put something, and she does. So you can't probably read it, but it says, "God always enables us." But it says, "Don't you just love the faithfulness of God, even when we can be so unfaithful at times?" So she has a little devotional thought in the description. Yeah. I would put more like of a call to action on this of why, I get having quote graphics, and I think it's, I like them and I've shared them before. And maybe, why. So she saved it to her board that's called Quotes That Inspire Me. And I think it's okay for what it is, but it's not going to drive traffic. It's not going to, it doesn't really tell what she does, which is a speaker and an author. If it was her quote, maybe, but I didn't see that it just had some hashtags that popped up. It said, very, very small. So I would probably make those bigger, and it has her website on it. Yep. So I guess that is her quote, but I would put a dash her name on it if it was a quote that I'm quoting myself on, and then have those maybe a little bit bigger and a little bit lower or something like that. But for what it is, I think it's fine. But I think it needs to be a little clearer. Like, I mean, it does say in the description she's an author, so it's. But I didn't know it was her quote until I dug a lot for this pin.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree?
And I'm not sure why they're the hashtags though. Like having the website on there would be good. Like, and make the website bigger, and you don't need the other hashtag at all.
Right.
This might have been used somewhere else originally, possibly.
Yeah, it could have been an Instagram thing, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And it's fine with repurposing some of that, but she doesn't need I would just have, I put it as, make sure people know it's her and that she's an author, and then just and maybe her website down below or something. Yep. But yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I will comment on, which I think this is a pretty good example of, is using a drop shadow. And I think, especially for videos, when you've got, the background moving and changing and colors changing, it's really important that people can read the text. Personally, for me, I like a softer drop shadow. What I mean by that is kind of like you don't get the really harsh black outline. It's more of a
blur.
Kind of a blur. It's more of a blur. So I think if there's anything I would change here, which I'm still even hesitant to change it or say this, even because I haven't actually worked with this, is just to make a little bit more of a blur, because even now, where you have it paused, I'm not able to read some of that text down below, and it's because the drop shadow is going at an angle. So that would be kind of my only minor critique, but also something that was done well here is this absolutely needed a drop shadow. Yeah. And I do really love the movement. I think it's really easy to find free videos with kind of moving backgrounds like this. And I think it's just an easy way to grab people's attention in the feed is to use that tactic.
And whatever graphic software you're using to create it, if you can't if it's forcing you to do that drop shadow where, like you said, it's really harsh and it's only on the bottom, what I would do is do a box and make it opaque, like a gray, and then put the text on top of that, where you still have the movement, you see it moving behind it, but then you have a little bit more control of how far to do that. So Lau over on YouTube asks, I want to know the best drop shadow setting. So Justine, do you have any your go-to what you like to do for drop shadows?
It so depends on the size of what you're creating. I don't have any like specific recommendations. I guess what I would say is like I would blur it out a bit. I wouldn't use completely black. I would use maybe like a 20% opacity on black. And all it does is it's really just going to make your words pop just a little bit and give them that extra contrast, especially if you do want to put like a white text on maybe a lighter colored background. It gives you just more versatility there. So I would just, I know there are tons of resources online and I don't have anything off the top of my head. But typically what I do is do like a 20% opacity of black for the drop shadow and then make sure that it blurs out. I could probably find some resources and drop that in though later after the show.
So don't forget to go, if you're just joining us, we have some great templates that Elisa and the team has put together. So you go to bit.ly/TW Pinterest Toolkit. Check that out, download it. There's new ones that come out every month. Not sure the exact date they come out, but they come out every month.
when I get to them.
So make sure you check those out. But you know what? I would love to know if you guys, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, if you guys would like some video pin templates, if you would like, we talked about we're going to do some video pin reviews. Now I would help. I'm saying I would help. Elisa would put them together, no problem. No, I would help put those together because I love video stuff. So if that would be something that interests you, let us know in the comments because we want to give you guys tools and help that you need. So if that's interesting to you, let us know. So let's jump to our next one. Okay. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No,
you're excited. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So this is from let's see what else. Linda. Yes. Yep. So this is shows that it's actually from Etsy. So it's probably hard for you guys to see. Let me zoom in on that for you. So thoughts on this one?
Okay. All right. First thought is, if I saw this in my feed, I wouldn't know what it was about. That I could maybe buy this thing. It kind of looks like a picture you took of a friend, which, there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't indicate to me purchasing. So maybe some branding added to that would help.
Okay.
Or even just, I'm thinking like a change of scenery. Like the background is nice and I understand the tie-in with the flowers, but I think for me, it becomes distracting. And so that's part of the, like, I don't really know what this pin is for because it doesn't necessarily look like it's a product photo.
Right.
And I think there's certainly times where like it can work, but for me, even like if the background was blurred a bit, so it could just be a matter of like photography settings, using a different lens, or even just going in there and editing it afterwards, which is a little bit painstaking, but can be done, kind of blurring that background. And also for the image, I think like increase the brightness a bit. For me, this is coming across like a little bit dark, or possibly like taking the photo on a different day or changing camera settings, just to make it like kind of pop a little bit more.
Like maybe reduce the saturation, or is that bad to do when you're trying to sell something? That's the problem. Is I wonder if the first thing I would say is like, I'm going to need to boost the saturation, but then I would hate for somebody to get it and go, this isn't what I saw. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think sometimes you have to do that just to make it look like it really does in real life. So as long as
it doesn't, that's the problem.
If it doesn't,
Yeah. So Lila says a call to action button would be helpful on this. Let's click on this and just see what happens. Nothing. Why is that? Yeah. So weird. Let me click on this pin up here. This is okay. Here's the Etsy shop.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. And looks like there's other images.
Oh, yeah. Let's see those.
When I click on the pin itself, I get to that item in Etsy.
I don't know what's going on. I probably have too many buttons open. So, okay. I get it. And so back in the original pin.
Wait, what are the other images she has?
Too bad you lost it. You didn't pay attention. See right there's one. And see, this one looks like it's got more saturation and there's more color in the green. And then there's a close up here, or just on the rack. It looks like. And then to be honest, I think this picture is better than the original pin.
I would agree with that.
So
I would agree.
Maybe, and I think maybe she has that pin, but I don't know. I'm just going off what I know of. Elisa, were you going to say something?
I do like, I was just going to say, like, I do like that it's a lifestyle photo, that we can see it styled, like we see it on a person. I think that would perform, and maybe Elisa, you can speak to this. I think that will perform better on Pinterest versus just a picture of
Cool. Okay. So, and she does have the price listed right here on the actual description of the pin. So, that's good. So,
yeah, I think that's coming in from the site itself, actually.
Okay. So. Click on this. Okay. Alrighty. So, do we want to do Justine's section now? Because we're about halfway, and on color theory, and then I'll get the next pins ready as she's doing that. So, let me go back to the awesome Justine and get her first one ready here. So many buttons. All right. Here we go. All right. This is the first one. So walk us through this.
Wait, we're not here yet. What
did I do?
Let's just do our faces for now.
Okay.
This is a little preview, I guess.
That's a preview. I'm sorry. I don't know what. I'm just pressing buttons. They don't tell me the whole thing. So.
No. Okay. Now I kind of feel like I need to be in that segment, but I just wanted to like sort of ease into
it. Nobody saw it. No one was paying attention.
Ease into it. Yeah. So first off, I just want to pose a question for both of you, and that is, what colors make you hungry, or what colors do you think make you hungry?
Right now, any color does.
I think like the color of your sweater.
Red makes you hungry?
Okay.
Yep.
So anger and food are the same.
Do you agree, disagree?
No, food. Red does not make me hungry.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
Well, psychologists are going to tell you that you're wrong.
Oh, I thought red made you angry. And maybe if you're an angry eater.
So that's if you're a bull.
Anger, but red and yellow actually are two colors that make you hungry. And now, having said that, can you think of any restaurants that use these colors?
About all of them.
McDonald's, Wendy's.
Hardee's. Yeah.
Red Lobster. It's in its name even. Yeah, all of them do. Chili's, they all have red in them.
The next time you are driving or out, just look at all of the restaurants and see the colors they're using. And a lot of them will use either red or yellow or some combination. So, so that's kind of like my little fun fact for the day.
Now I'm really hungry because I'm looking at your shirt.
Everyone needs to like something afterwards. I could even make you hungrier, but by the time you're done with this, you're gonna have to go and get a snack, basically. So with that said, I've got a little kind of statistic about color and color theory, and this is coming from the Institute of Color Research, very fitting. People make a subconscious judgment about a product within 90 seconds of initial viewing, and between 62 and 90% of that assessment is based on color alone, which is and knowing that statistic, it's wild to think that the colors that you're choosing, whether it be like for your brand or pin, any sort of marketing you're doing for your business really matters and can make a difference to your audience. So it's kind of just, it's cool to see that. And there's a lot out there on color theory. There's a whole science behind it. People do this for a living, which is kind of wild. But
what's your job? Color theorist.
Yeah.
I have a question though, Justine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So is anybody else surprised that it takes as long as 90 seconds to form a first opinion about a product? Because that seems like a long time to me.
Yeah, that does seem a lot.
It does feel like a lot. I mean, there could possibly be new research out there.
I think it's probably in store, like brick and mortar. Like I can see people going and shopping and looking at, because my wife, oh my gosh, 90 seconds, that would be amazing if she could pick something out in 90 seconds. But it's, I mean, but I'm thinking like online, I think it's probably different than that because of, you know, the Pinterest and, you know, but I think brick and mortar for sure. I think I can see that being in 90 seconds. If you're going shopping, looking at food, you know, there's that whole psychology of they put stuff at eye level and all the stuff they don't want you to buy really is on the bottom, you know, all that kind of stuff plays into it, and color. So
yeah, I'm sure it's very situational, I'm sure. And, you know, it may not be for, you know, every single product decision you're making.
But it's still fascinating.
But just as maybe a general rule. Yeah. So color's important. It's kind of the point of all that. And it helps with decision making. So having said that, I don't really want to get into all of the details behind, like, you know, red is or means these things, blue means these things, because you can go online and search for that. And that's all great. And it's really interesting. And like, that's already online and easily accessible. So what I really want to talk about is how you can apply color theory and some sort of principles you can use when it comes to specifically pin designs and maybe some other designs as it relates to social media, and really just to get better results from your pin. So I'm specifically going to be speaking to Pinterest.
Cool.
So now we can go to the first one.
I'll do what you say now. All right, there we go.
Okay, so kind of the first, I told you you're going to want to snack by the end of this.
I know.
So the first topic that I want to talk about is hue. So when I say hue, what I'm talking about is the pure, when we think of like a color, you probably are thinking of hue, but this is really like the pure color as we know them. So I'm talking like red, blue, yellow. Like if you look at a rainbow, this is what I'm talking about. Now, the thing that I want to point out here, so as a general rule, pins that have red tones get shared the most on Pinterest. And on the flip side, the worst performers for pins are black and white pins. And I think I didn't want to just come on the show and just like kind of spew that information at you without actually giving sort of like what is, and not sharing with you like, well, what does this actually look like in action? Because I think it's really important to kind of show that or even test that theory, right? So I made a pin about strawberry cupcakes and they look delicious. And the center pin here is kind of like the control pin. So I said, like, if I followed all of like the here's what a good pin would look like color-wise, as far as like getting the highest performance or the best performance, what would it look like? So that's kind of the center pin. And then I thought, okay, well, what if we took that pin and I made the one on the left, which is a green pin. And I don't think there's anything really wrong with the green pin, but I also would say it's probably not as strong as the center pin. The center pin looks much more appetizing in my opinion, and just, it makes me hungrier, right? Because red makes us hungry. And then the extreme is kind of like on the far right, which is just the completely black and white. And in this one, it's just like, everything's the same. Nothing is really standing out here. And it's not appetizing because, like,
who wants a great strawberry?
Right.
I don't. That's not what they look like in the real world. And even if they did, like, that's still probably not a pin that's going to attract a lot of.
So
attention.
I have a question on this. So I totally agree. The middle one is the best, and it stands out. But also because my mind associates that color with strawberries. But let's say I had a green smoothie in a really cool picture. Would the green be better for that one than the red? Would that be too jarring? You've seen those green smoothie pins that you see on pictures. Because if we go with like, okay, red always will get shared more, and I throw that one on there.
Sure.
Sometimes that, there's exceptions to every rule, I guess is what I'm saying.
I agree. I completely agree. And that's kind of why I wanted to use this as an example and just show like the green one isn't necessarily bad. This is kind of where experimentation comes in when we're thinking about pins, because I think we can almost definitively say like that black and white one is probably not going to attract a lot of attention. Right. But it becomes a little bit more hairy when we're looking at different colors. And I would advise like kind of match your accent colors that you're using with colors that you're pulling from the image. And if it is a green smoothie, it probably makes sense for you to use green. But having said that, not all greens are the same.
Right,
so, maybe you don't want to use sort of like a green, like a really dark green, blue, I don't know, right? Like some greens are not going to look.
So Deborah says this, she goes, strawberry cupcakes with green is incongruent. If you had a kiwi cupcakes, you wouldn't use red. Yeah. So that's very, very true.
But I think you might.
It depends
I think that
in the picture.
I think it totally depends.
It depends on the picture, but I can definitely picture a green smoothie pin where red would make sense as an accent color, or
like a red straw in the green smoothie.
Yes. Green and red they complement each other. I mean, think about Christmas colors. They work really well together. Because I believe I'm not going to get all my technical terms right here, but they're like the opposite or like complementary on the wheel, on the color wheel. And like I said, like there's a whole, you can read a ton about this. Yeah. There's a lot of like art and science behind which colors pair well together. And that's like easily accessible online. So I'm not going to get into like what colors pair well together. Having said that, I would say, try different things out and see what works for you, because even though as a general rule, the pins with red tones perform better, that doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. But if you want to start somewhere, it's a good place to start.
Gotcha. So here's a couple questions I want to get to. So you mentioned red does better. So this was from, I lost it, but she asked, is what colors generally create trust and conversion? Because we're all like converting. How do we convert? Yeah. Is there a color that like people, so we've got one that shares more. Is there even a color that like, okay, this one gets more, clicks, or is it all kind of the same thing?
I think now I don't want to say something here and it be wrong, but I believe that green is a color as far as like when you think about like buttons using green on web pages, like they're used there for a reason because they're eye catching and like people with. I don't know if it's necessarily trust. I think blue, if I'm recalling correctly, is the color that builds trust. Yeah. But green is also a common color for buttons.
Yeah, I don't think, to me, I don't imagine that there's that strong of a correlation between color and conversion so much as there is between color and engagement or clicks. That's like you're drawing the eye in, and the trust comes from the content and from the continuity from the pin to the page. But
it's always worth experimenting on too. So I think
it is worth experimenting. And I would say like generally, like cooler colors are going to convey a feeling of like calm and like as a general rule, and then warm colors are more passion. And I think it kind of like when we talk about like, what color is best for conversions, I think it's really dependent on the product or like what you're trying to sell. So, I don't really necessarily advocate for like kind of that fear, especially on Pinterest, so like getting someone to click based on fear. But when you think about that, red is probably a really good color for that because it's like warning and you think of stop signs. So I think it is totally dependent on what you're trying to do here. Or you think about like, are you trying to get someone to click on like a meditation post, or maybe you've got like, 30-day meditation, something, maybe like a cooler color, like a blue would help with that. So that one, I don't have a whole lot of research behind, but I would say, I think it's probably dependent on what exactly you're trying to get that person to do and what it is exactly that you're selling to them.
So Jessica brings up a good question, because we're talking and we're kind of breaking down how color and everything works best on Pinterest. She goes, what if your branding color doesn't match the image you need to use for your pin? Ooh, this is a designer's conundrum all the time.
Yeah.
When you're working with clients. What if they have a crappy logo? What do you do? Yeah.
You know, I feel like there are some people who are just will not use any color but their brand color. And that's a choice that they are free to make. But I feel like that really limits you because like in this situation, if you force your brand colors with these colors that don't match, it's not going to look good. Right. So instead, you could focus on your logo or your website being on there for your branding itself rather than forcing the color.
Yeah. I always liked, like we talked about before, is like using the URL and not, just, do your website.com and having that, especially because it gives you more options. It's easier you can change text color and, make things pop. And it's just easier than always having to have a logo bug. I've had to deal with clients because it clashes and it looks bad on some of them. So having that option, just the website sometimes works better.
And I would also encourage you, if you're feeling like, you're getting to design a pin and every time you're just like, oh, this doesn't work with my colors. Like, I don't know how to make this work. Maybe you need to expand your color palette for your brand.
Oh, yeah.
I think oftentimes like brand colors can be very restricting when you don't have, different shades and tints within that color, and you don't have an expansive enough color palette to be able to make decisions. Having said that, I still think it's okay to use colors that aren't necessarily your brand, but with that in mind, if you're typically using on your website or with your brand, you're using sort of pastel colors, probably doesn't make sense for you to be using neon colors. Right. So I think there's more to a color than just like the hue of it. There's tints and shades and brightness and darkness, like the saturation. So I think if you're sticking to a similar vein, you'll be able to find some movement within that. So just keep that in mind that and there are color pickers online and tools that will help you build out a palette if you've got one color and you want to make a palette or create a palette off of that. And it's not easy work. It's really hard. There are a lot of things and like factors that go into creating a color palette. I guess like,
it is tough. Canva has a great new color picker tool that you guys can check out too. They have one built in. Canva has one now that's really good. And then there's another one called Palatine that's good online. So I'll try to drop those down in the link below. So let's go on because we can get nerdy about colors. So let's go on to your next example, and just so we make sure we have time for at least one more review. So
we got to do a lightning round.
That's right. Well, I don't know about
that. Okay. We'll try.
Well, I don't mean for this one. I mean
not lightning round for us. Well, it's we want to know what this means. Yeah. What is this?
Okay. So this is kind of what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Is like we've got our hues of color. So we have red and yellow and green and blue. But within that realm, there are things that we can manipulate with colors. So here I'm talking about sort of tints and shades. Traditionally, like tints would be adding white to a color, and we'll just call it like brightness, right? It's how bright your image is or your color. And then darkness on the other side is your shade. So it would be adding black to a color. So if we're painting, right, you're just thinking about if I've got some paint right here and I'm adding white to it, how does that change it? Vice versa, if I add black, what does that look like? So again, as a general rule, pins with medium lightness perform better than dark or light pins. So this is kind of just that in action, and I know this is a little bit of an exaggeration, but I wanted to show, what does it look like if you have a very light pin versus a very dark pin. I don't see a whole lot of like super light pins on Pinterest compared to super dark. I have seen quite a few dark pins on Pinterest. And so I think what I really just want to point out here is that we're kind of attracted to things that look I would say like realistic, but maybe like on the good side of realistic. So like if we look at the middle image, the strawberries are like they look great, right? Yeah, it looks realistic, but it also looks like you took it in like really, really great light and like maybe it's mid-afternoon and you want like a strawberry cupcake. Where, you know, we go to the darker one and it's like, oh, maybe the lights are out and it's not like the best condition.
You're sneaking,
you know, and then yeah, you feel guilty about that cupcake.
Exactly. No, I would not feel guilty about cupcakes right now.
No. So, I think you're right though, because I think on Instagram, yeah, you did it. We're all hungry. But I think on Instagram, the rules are a little bit different. Like you can be a lot more stylized and have it work out. And Pinterest is that land of realism, or at least ideal realism. Yeah.
So here's a good thing. So I have, since I am a nerd, I use dark mode, and I can have dark mode now on Pinterest. And what that has really done for me is make things pop a lot different because you have a black background. And so
that's a good point.
These medium ones, I would love to know in the comments who is using dark mode on their phone. I use it on everything, but I have a feeling I'm in the small minority, but it really does make images pop more. And I would love to know like the statistics of who uses dark mode, who uses light or normal mode, because the contrast on certain pins are just they really stand out. And make some of them really, really striking. Yeah. So anyway, I'd love to know you guys in the comments what you guys use.
And I think that's a good point because kind of what it comes down to is like I'm giving out, you know, sort of general rules here, and I know it's not going to apply to every single pin that you create. But if you're using this as a starting point, I would say, you know, shoot for that medium lightness, but also test different things, or really just like research and understand your audience, because it could be like, you know, if your audience is software engineers, I know probably a lot of them are using dark mode. So this might change based off of that. So don't be afraid to test and try different things, especially, you know, if you know and understand your audience, because it's important to really tailor your content for them. So don't be afraid to break the rules. But if you want a starting point, this is where I would start.
This is really cool of all these people who are using dark mode. I wonder if it's more than we think it is.
Dark mode. Yeah.
So, So anyway, it'd be interesting I wish Pinterest would give us those stats because it would make a difference the way I design things.
Right.
Anyway, but Lila says she's tried it and can't stand it. So, I mean, so it's everyone, you know, to each its own. So let's go to this next one because I think that will be our final one that you have put it together for us. So talk about this. That's orange cupcake over there. So this last one is all about saturation. And what saturation is really the intensity of a hue. So think about like a neon color versus like a pastel. Right. So for this one, the general rule here is that pins in between highly desaturated, so that would be like black and white, and highly saturated, perform better. So again, it's kind of like that middle line here. But having said that, and with Elise's comment, Instagram is sort of changing those things, and I'm not quite sure if that is bleeding over into Pinterest, but I imagine maybe some of that is. I think generally the rule is, you know, make the pin as realistic as possible. And that is a good rule. But what I do see is that it almost starts creeping over into like, well, maybe saturate it just a little bit more so that it looks like maybe the best reddest strawberry you've ever seen in your life. Right.
Right. Yeah. You know what, Justine, I actually like the one on the right.
Room.
I really love that red color at the top. That to me is really eye-catching. The strawberry, like the white drizzle on the strawberry, has a little bit of a green tint that I don't love. But if you could just like use that block of color at the top like that with the normal strawberries, maybe.
Yeah. And this is another one again, and I think this goes back to the one we were talking about with colors, which is, you know, using like a red or a green color on your pin. I think this is another one where it can be really tricky, right? Like, I don't think there is any hard and fast rule that says like this is exactly what you need to do. You do this, and like you're going to get all the results there, because we're all human, right? Like we like different things. Pinterest has so many people on the platform, and again, you know, I put this general rule in here as this is, you know, what most people go after. It doesn't necessarily mean that the pin on the right won't work for you or won't work for your audience. I think it certainly could and has the possibility to perform even better than the middle one. Mm-hmm. But this is where testing comes in, right? Like we have to test, we have to try new things in order to see what is working. And then I would say with this one too, like the desaturated one, I think we can probably say maybe don't try that one. Like it's just dull, right?
Now I know saturation is a trick that, especially like on landscape photography and like Instagram, when they're trying, that's an easy way to make your photos pop. Is like people would boost the saturation, and they would boost the structure is another one of the sliders that a lot of people bump up, and it can look really cool. It can also look really fake if you do it too much. Mm-hmm. So it's all about I think like you said, the individual photo, and you know, you could probably, like Elisa said, use the one that really, the color at the top for the title that pops a lot, and then boost the saturation, like you said, to like make that strawberry look amazingly, you know, attractive. Just, and don't go crazy with it like it looks like a cartoon, but just, you know, you kind of play with it and you see, and you know, I always like to test it out on phones. Like if because sometimes it'll look beautiful in my monitor, and then I'll put it on my phone and like, ooh, that looks really, really fake. So that's something that I think that everybody needs to test out as well.
Completely agree.
So are we ready to, we have like 5 minutes to go through 200 pins. So here we go.
Let's do it quick.
Thank you, Justine, for that. That's awesome. That is, I love to nerd out about that stuff. So very, very cool. So where am I? So let's see here.
In Texas
somewhere. I'm trying to find the screen where we can share this. Let me go back to this here real quick as I find it. So real quick, there's a question about how colors change through the seasons. Can you explain that a little bit for us, Justine? Where is it?
So I would say, and I'm going to call on Elisa to help me out here, but we did do a test about what colors perform best during what times. I think what we found is generally like pinks tended to perform really well for us. Again, our audience is a lot of females. Mm-hmm. But we did see, I think, like oranges sort of pick up during like autumn. And then like, so speaking to not necessarily just the specific like hue, but thinking about like brighter colors tended to do better in spring, and then like maybe a little bit darker, but not too much in autumn.
Gotcha.
And maybe not necessarily darker, but like richer. So I think I would encourage you to test using different colors with the seasons. It adds, you know, another
it's another thing to do,
another variable in there,
right?
But
Wait,
all right,
you know,
so
if you have you could definitely like fill up your smart loop with some seasonal pins like that, because I firmly believe that it has a lot to do with relevance. So what is catching my eye right now is a lot different than what's going to catch my eye in November color-wise. So yeah, I would refresh for seasons.
All right, let's talk about one final question. So would Pinterest consider a photo changed by saturation a fresh pin?
I mean, it's more about how people are reacting, right?
Yeah, I think that's too much trying to game the system, and I would rather do a new pin and then test it with a new title and not. You know, I think it's not trying. I would just spend that time, instead of trying to game maybe the system a little bit, is just create a new pin, maybe zoom in on something different, and test it that way. That's my opinion. So okay, let's a pin. What about this pin right here? Our last one in 1 minute.
Okay, I'll go first. I have a hard time seeing anything other than the big loopy G's. Those are really distracting.
And I bet Pinterest does as well.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And I think I would, even speaking to the hierarchy, it looks like the top part, the core word starter kit, I would make that bigger, and then the text below would be more of like a sub headline,
Mm-hmm.
and the top text would be a headline, just so, you know, there's a lot to read there. It would be nice if I could just read the top part and then know if I'm interested enough, then I'll read the bottom part. So I'd like to see more hierarchy there. The other thing, yellow is always a really hard color or difficult color to use as a background, because it's just naturally really, really bright. So any like black on yellow background is just inherently like it's hard to read. And traditionally, like in design, you just steer clear of that because it is really challenging.
The only reason I think, because I understand it, because looks like it's a teacher pen, and it does seem like a school bus. I mean, it's a primary, you know, that's the only reason I would do it. And you think about the letters on a school bus or black on, and if that's what you're going for, I get it. But it might be worth experimenting with a different primary color.
Yeah, but I think even like a school bus is, I was just going to say, a school bus is more of like a goldeny orange type color. So if you could get that school bus color, I have no problems with using more of like a golden. But just yellow can be difficult. It's kind of the moral.
But what about the image inside? Because I think it does a pretty good job of showing what it is. One of the things that I would think of is that I think it's like what we talked about, it's a little desaturated. I think maybe it looks a little washed out to me. And so I think boosting the saturation on that, or maybe trying a different photo. I like the layout. I mean, you see the big thing and then you see it folded and all these different spread. I like that because it seems like
I do too.
Cool. But I just think the image needs to be a little more vibrant, is what I would say.
Agreed.
Cool. So with that, do you guys have any final thoughts? And make sure that you guys go. Thank you so much once again for submitting your pins. It's awesome to review this. We'll do more of these because they seem to be super popular, and it's always cool to see. And the community has done a great job in the comments, giving suggestions. It's awesome. But don't forget to go to our and download our toolkit that the templates at bit.ly/TW Pinterest toolkit, all lowercase, all smashed together, and get that while it's hot, and it's going to change pretty quickly to next month, so keep an eye for that. But thank you so much for being here. Justine, thank you so much. You have been awesome as always.
I'm glad I'm here, even though I was a little bit tricked. But
that's right.
I can forgive you.
It would just have been a blank box. That would have been so awkward.
I know. And when you started, I was like, I really need to be on this. So.
Yeah, thank you. And for everybody who submitted pins and we haven't gotten to them,
you're in the queue.
Please come over to. They're in the queue. But if you don't want to wait 12 years, which I think is about how long it would take us to get to all of them, you could go to bit.ly, TW Pinterest Get Together.
Yeah, and we'll drop that into the comments.
What is it?
I don't know, but we'll drop it in the comments because we don't even know around here. And with that, thank you guys. We went a little bit over this time, but we appreciate all you guys. Feel free to ask us questions. We will drop it in the comments. And somebody already shared the Canva color picker. Thank you so much for doing that. And we will see you. We're doing one next week, so we'll be next week on Thursday. So stay tuned for that. We appreciate you guys. Love talking with you and interacting with you. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye now.